Shabbat Shalom. This is Liv. I know your family knows you, but I'm, wanting to make sure everybody who is participating in this Shabbat service that includes your bat mitzvah knows who you are. And I know some people are tuned in specifically because they've known you forever or a little short of forever. But anyone can watch our services. So you're going to get to know Liv. And we're here in the CRC sanctuary with Liv and her family, her mom and dad and sister who became bat mitzvah just about a year ago from her own home, which some of you I think remember, and Liv's grandma. And Andrew and Leslie are here, and Autumn in the booth, making sure that everybody else, wherever you are joining us for this sacred occasion, for this sacred service. And so, though there's just a very few of us in here, we feel their presence. And I hope you feel ours. And there is already joy in this place, just from the moment we got here. We can't help but live. Can't help but feeling joyful because of you. Also, we just had Rosh Chodesh, the brand new month on the Jewish calendar, the new moon. And actually, this year is a leap year, so it's the second month of Adar. We get 2 Adars. And you know what the motto is on Adar? Be happy, And it's not always that easy, and there's a lot going on, There's a war that is leaving many of us disheartened and upset and afraid. We're still dealing with COVID, and we all have our individual challenges, and yet Adar tells us there's always something that can bring us joy. And for us right now, it's this service and your bat mitzvah. And so we're thankful to you and to your family, to this tradition of stopping on Shabbat for holiness. And so, Liv, on page 2 of this service, we have a prayer in our tradition that's just about gratitude. Just about saying, no matter what else is going on, we have things that we can be thankful for. And I'm sure you woke up this morning and we're filled with gratitude on the day of your bat mitzvah. So let's sing with Andrew and Leslie on page 2. I think everybody can access the special siddur that Liv created just for this service. You can get that on the stream. It's all a handy dandy PDF. And we can all sing together from here, from there, from everywhere. Modeh ani, I am grateful. So Liv, you are one of the prayer leaders today, and you've been working really hard to lead this congregation, this physical congregation, this virtual congregation, to lead us in many of the prayers. And one of the traditions, sort of even a mitzvah, because the blessing you're about to say is a mitzvah blessing. If you're leading the service especially, is to wear the talit with its fringes that remind us of all the sacred deeds, all the mitzvahs that are available to us, that we can do to make the world a better place. And I know you're all about mitzvah doing. In whatever language you want to get out there and help And I really do know that about you. Even serve, right? That's a word we don't use that often these days, but that's, sometimes we have to be servants, for sure. And so you also are going to wear a talit as one of our prayer leaders and as a bat mitzvah to be. And so it's an honor to ask your mom and dad to come up and present you with this beautiful talis that you will wear for this service. Wow. You guys stay up here with Liv as Liv recites the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahitatef batzitzi.
Amen. And Liv, that, I'm sure you know this, but the blessing you just recited is right there on the collar of your talit. Those colors are striking. It looks great on you. And not that you need more skill and confidence, but hopefully, you'll feel wrapped by our tradition as well as by your wonderful parents. So we're going to sing again because these are, stay up here just one more second, and then we can just want to say that these moments are really holy and significant and sweet moments, and we want to hold on to them. And that's why right after you receive your talit with your parents here, we want to sing Ma Tovu and Hine Ma Tov, both songs and prayers that have that word tov in them, which just means good. So much goodness right here. We are so blessed. So let's sing, and you guys can have a seat. And we're on page 3.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la la. Ya la la la. Ma
Chant together. Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzalmo. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has created me in your image. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben horim. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who has made me Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who provides clothes for the needy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten liya'ef koach. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who gives strength to the weak. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher hechin mitzvah gaver. Blessed are you, the eternal our God, who guides the steps of human beings.
Yit kadal v'yit kadash
Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divrah Kirutei V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chai Yechon U'vyom Echon, U'v'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'gala, Ba'gala, U'vizman Kariv, V'yimeru, Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mivorach, Le'olam Omei Omaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitroma, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yithale, V'yithalal, Shemei Dekudesha B'richu, Le'elam min chol berchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechamata, Damiran be'alma, V'yimeru, Amen.
Please rise as we call each other to prayer with the Baruch Hu.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai,
For there is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we are brave enough to be it. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or u'vorei choshech, oseh shalom u'vorei et hakol, ha'me'er la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshit.
Marabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, mala ha'aretz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al mo'orei or sha'asita yifa'arucha sela. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer hamorot.
Together, you create
Light and darkness, the possibility of peace within a warring world, all forms and creatures who acknowledge their only common bond in you. You open daily the gates of the east, cleave the windows of the sky, bring forth the sun from its place, the moon from its abode. The sky, the sun, the moon are far from us, yet their Creator created us. And so their world is ours, their light is ours, though we must often gather up their light from the dark places where it has fallen. Bring forth their light, that ours may shine anew. You who have created light are praised.
We say the Shema to put us at peace. The root for the Hebrew word for peace is wholeness. We say the Shema to know that we are all together, that we are not alone, and to know that we are echad, one. Please join me in chanting the Shema. Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Together. You shall love Adonai
Your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these words which I command you this day. Teach them diligently to your children. Speak of them when you are at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you arise. Bind them as a sign on your hand. Let them serve as symbols between your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Remember to do all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am your God who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your God.
I know that we are a people who have crossed many seas. In every service, we remember that the price of freedom is often great as we sing those same words that our ancestors sang after crossing from slavery to freedom at the shores of another sea.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la. Mi chamocha, Elohim Adonai, mi chamocha, nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha. Elohim Adonai, mi kamocha, nedar b'kodesh, Torah tehilot, osefet, Torah tehilot, osefet, Shira Hadasha, Shiba. Post Sia Habakkuk Cuencos, Sia Habakkuk Cuencos, Sia Habakkuk Cuencos, Sia Hamba, Sia Hamba, Sia Habakkuk Cuencos, Sia Hamba, Sia Hamba, Sia Habakkuk Cuencos. We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, we are marching, we are marching. Ooh, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, we are marching, we are marching. Ooh, we are marching in the light of God. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh.
Please rise. There is no king who has not had a slave among his ancestors, and no slave who has not had a king among his.
So we begin the prayers of the tefillah on page 15 for a public service announcement for those of you following with the Siddur at home. We sing that we're in a sanctuary, you are in a sanctuary. We hope that everywhere can someday be called sanctuary.
Adonai, Tiftai Tiftach, Urfi Yadid, Tehilatecha, Adonai, Tiftai Tiftach, Urfi Yadid, Tehilatecha. Adonai, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la.
Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdevot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah.
Together. Praise be the God of our ancestors,
The God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, of Sarah, of Rebekah, of Leah, and of Rachel. Praise be the source of strength and courage, the source of kindness and good deeds. Praise be the source of gentleness and love, of softness and kind words. Praise be the person who transcends strength through gentleness. Praise be the person who perfects gentleness through strength. Praise be the person who acts according to the best that is within. Praise be the person who reaches out to touch the best in others. Praise be the gentle faithfulness of Abraham, the valiant strength of Sarah. Praise be the God who infused humanity with divine potential.
Atagi bor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol atarav lehoshia, mechalkel
Hayim bechesed, mechaye hakol, berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei holim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al givurot, umidom elach, melech memit, umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua,
v'ne'aman
Atah
atah
l'chayot
l'chayot
hakol,
hakol,
Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. So we are on pages 18 and 19. This prayer is literally called holiness, Kedusha. And so one of the kind of magic things, I guess, or it's not really magic, but it feels like magic, of the internet is, when we say we fill in the spaces between us with holiness, in the internet, the spaces are vast, right? If the holiness from this place has such a reach, if we can do our best to rise to holiness, when we lift up on our tiptoes, symbolically saying, we can do better, we can be better, following your example, Liv, that I can't help but believe that flows through time and space. The holiness here will flow out there. And, all the places that are doing holiness, wherever they are, kind of flow back to us. And there's something in that mix that I hope and pray adds to what we call tikkun olam, the repair of the universe in the places where it's broken. And so we attempt to do our part right here, right now, with this prayer.
Likadesha Shamcha Ba'olam, Kishim Shema Kishimo Tobishme Maram, Kakatu Aya Nevieka, Karaze Elze Ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sevaot, Melech haaretz, kevodo, adir adirenu Adonai, Adonenu malachim, simcha b'kol haaretz, baruch kevod Adonai, binkomo. Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai. לדור ודור נגיד גדלך ולנצח נצח כי קודשך חלקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל
Please be seated. Shabbat is the day that we let go of the illusion that we are in control.
Oh, that's a tall order, but important, you know. Important those moments that we can control what we can, and important when those moments we let it go. It's the balance, I think. But I kind of want to just take a moment right before Vishamru, before this section that is really just about Shabbat. It was lifted from the Torah, a passage about Shabbat, and put into the prayer book just to sing on the Sabbath. Because, Liv, I have so many amazing memories of Shabbat morning with you and your sister and your parents at family services. I just did family services, and it's hard to believe that you guys were that age. I'm sure it's even harder for your parents and your family that are watching to believe. It's like in a blink of an eye. But I remember the two of you singing and dancing and, bim-bombing. Really, it's just, and so I just wanted to say that, that really to stand next to you as you become bat mitzvah, having known you almost forever, is truly a privilege and an honor. And I really am thankful for Shabbat, so that we could have all those years just come together, and still to this day, Shabbat brings us together. And so for those stopping times, for those times where we say, you know what, nothing else is more important than just gathering and being our best selves together and singing, right? Thank goodness for Shabbat. So on page 20, let's sing again with Andrew and Leslie. When we keep the Sabbath, just as we prove over and over and over again, the Sabbath keeps us on the path to righteousness.
ששת ימים עשה אדוני אל השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת אותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדור אותם ברית עולם
Next page, page 21, Ritzeh, an offering from us to the universe and back.
Together.
Be gracious, O God, to your people Israel, and receive their prayers with love. May the service of your people Israel be pleasing to you forever. You are near to all who seek your presence. Reveal yourself to us and have compassion upon us. May our eyes see you return to Zion in mercy. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who restores your Shekinah to Zion.
Enjoy the little things, for one day you may look back and realize that they were the big things.
Yeah.
Peace isn't just still and quiet and stillness. Peace is being content and happy with yourself, where you are, and who you are with.
Yeah. Many senses of peace, and that is certainly one of them, Liv. Well written, beautifully written. And also, we, especially at a time like this, when we pray for peace, have to pay attention to the world as well. You know, last night at services, this Shabbat has been designated by a number of organizations to be Refugee Shabbat, a Shabbat to dedicate ourselves to our value of welcoming outsiders, immigrants and asylum seekers and refugees. And we heard from our member Helen Petty, who's helping us support, is kind of leading the effort for CRC, who is supporting this wonderful family, the Husseinis from Afghanistan. Children have started school, and they just got a brand new car, or a car to drive, and things are going really well for them after an incredibly traumatic period of time, having to leave their home and their country. And so we talked about that, but then we also heard a message from Hayas, from the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, that said, of course, even as we're paying attention to the refugees from Afghanistan, now we're facing 1 million or more refugees from Ukraine. And so when we pray for peace, as we do repeatedly in our service, as you know, Liv, for all of us in this sanctuary and watching from home, it's a time to truly also pray for peace in Ukraine and peace for all the places that are being torn apart by violence and aggression and horror. We pray for peace so we can try to help figure out how to make peace, which is what this prayer says, Sim Shalom. And I'll just say one more thing about Refugee Shabbat, because it was really striking. The representative from Hayas just said something in a way that really just sort of turned a light on, acknowledging that a huge part of the Jewish story is that we have been refugees over and over again. She said that this refugee Shabbat reminds us that the Jewish refugee story isn't over. It's just that our role has changed, largely from being refugees ourselves to helping make sure that there are no outsiders, that with love and support and goodness, everybody feels like they belong. So that's a lot, but so is peace, the cause of peace. So we pray for it all. We pray not only that we keep peace in our heart, but that we do what we can to sim shalom, to make peace. We're on page 23.
Sim, sim, sim shalom. Sim, sim, sim shalom. Sim, sim, sim shalom.
Gonna do something a little different. Do you want to read this poem? Sure. Yeah, so it says silent meditation, but we got a lot of silence going on in here. So there's again the balance between silence and speaking. This is a beautiful poem, Liv, that you've selected for this moment in the service as we transition to the Torah service. So before one more prayer for peace, why don't you read for us this gorgeous passage that you selected?
Sweet melody amidst the moving spheres breaks forth, a solemn and entrancing sound, a harmony whereof the earth's green hills give but the faintest echo. Yet there is a music everywhere, in a concert sweet. All birds which sing amidst the forest deep, till the flowers listen with unfolded bells. All winds that murmur over the summer grass, or curl the waves upon the pebbly shore. Chiefly, all earnest human voices raised in charity for the cause of truth, mingle together in one sacred chord, and float a grateful incense up to God.
Nice. Yeah, I figured you'd like that one, Leslie. So let's sing another prayer for peace, because we can't have enough. For the people of Ukraine, for the people of the world, for us, we pray for peace.
Oh, say shalom bimroma. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imnu, amen. Yeah, say shalom. Yeah, say shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Amen. Liv.
Please rise.
There you go. Although all the people that are standing are about to join us up on the bima, so it's good that you stand. You got to get up anyway, right? So we're going to make sure we pass you the Torah in an intentional sacred way. So let me ask, we'll let you all come up. Sylvia, you get to open the ark for the Torah, and then you'll join the line up with your Dasi and your mom and dad. And so just open the doors, and then what we'll do is, let's have Dasi come over here near me, and then mom, dad, and then Sylvia, and then Olivia. Perfect. I'm gonna sneak over here. Okay. Well, we haven't passed this Torah to a bar bat mitzvah in quite a long time. But it felt right because we're going to go right from this passing the Torah to you live to starting to chant the Torah. So this is the Torah we always chant from. Again, I think it makes sense. It makes sense because this Torah is emblazoned with a Hebrew word that we've said already a couple of times in this service, the word tikkun, meaning repair. Right? We use it in this phrase, tikkun olam, the repair of the world. That is a commitment we make. And I know it's a commitment that you make and that your family makes in so many different ways. Little ways and big ways. And, wait till everyone hears your commentary, which, kind of gets to the heart of how a really important way to get to tikkun. So we're all prepared for that. But we got a little journey before we get there. So take a look at this group here. I know that your grandma Sally is watching from Los Angeles, the city of angels, and is part of this line as well. But not just them. You can imagine this line going all the way back. All of the people whose stories and whose history and whose values have been transmitted to you. Some who you know, and some who you just know by their stories and their pictures, but they're part of you. So when we pass you the Torah, we're passing you their Torah as well. But you have your own Torah, Olivia, right? You have your own Torah. That's also part of who you are. Parts of you that are just uniquely you. Couldn't have come from anybody else, right? And it's such a delight to get to know that part of you as well. So we're passing you Torah with a small taf, like all that Torah that these wonderful people and beyond have passed to you. But we're also passing you this scroll as well. And you have worked really hard to read right from the scroll. It's not something that everybody can do. Even a lot of people, who come to synagogue all the time, aren't able to read right from the Torah. But you've learned that, and so you've earned, standing up here, receiving this Torah, and having moments of letting us hear the words of Torah and also your words of how you interpret Torah. So I hope that the passing the Torah to you is meaningful and significant, kind of heavy, because this Torah is a little heavier than the one that we passed to most of our students. Actually, the Torah that was passed to your sister was very unheavy, right? It was like kind of a traveling Torah, you remember? All right, but still, but heavy in the spiritual sense, but not as much in the physical sense. So I know that it's going to be a meaningful, significant moment, but I also hope it's a moment filled with joy, because that's part of Torah as well. That's part of bat mitzvah as well. There's responsibility, but there should also be joy. And so we feel it here. I hope everyone who's watching and participating from wherever they are is feeling that joy. I can see it on your face, Livy. I really can. So this is your Dasi. I'm going to let her, it's pretty heavy here. I'm going to turn it around, actually, so everyone can see the tikkun word. You got it? And then to Mom. Got it? Yep. And to your father, to your big sister who was bat mitzvah just a year ago, and into your arms. Perfect. You all right? Yes. All right. All right, so your family's behind you now. You're front and center for this bat mitzvah moment. And what I'd like you to do Live is to chant for us one more time the words of the Shema, which are right from this scroll, from every Torah scroll. Chant the Shema because this is going to be a time of us listening to you and learning from you. Go ahead.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Beautiful. So I'm going to take this Torah from you. Where's Sylvia? If you'll take that yad off and give that to your sister. And if you'll take the cover off as well. Beautiful. And if you can hang that right on this Torah stand. Perfect. All right, tell you what, why don't we have everyone except for Sylvia have a seat back in your seats? Yes. All right, let's find Liv's part. It's actually not too difficult to find. Every once in a while, it's hard to find a spot in the Torah.
Mine's actually very easy.
So
It's right
Liv,
at the beginning of the...
so Liv is right. It's very easy to find her spot in this portion because we are in the very last portion of the book of Exodus. So we have gone through an entire book of the Torah, the second one of 5, ritually speaking, week by week by week in synagogue. I'll find it. And now we have, this is literally, I don't know, I think Autumn has been able to like kind of zoom in on the Torah. Oh, thumbs up from Autumn. So you could probably see there's a big gap between the last word that Liv will chant, right, and the next word, Vayikra, because the last word that Liv chants is literally the last word in the book of Shemot. Very special kind of moment in Jewish services and liturgy is when we finish a book of Torah. It's very significant. And then, next week we'll start with the third book, with Vayikra. So that's kind of placing us. Let's see, let's find.
That's where I start.
Yep, you're correct. You're correct. So everybody that has access to a Siddur, which I think is everyone who's part of this service, you can follow along with Liv on page 25 of the Siddur, which has both the Hebrew that Liv is chanting, but also the English translation of this very end of Exodus. I also want to say before Liv begins, we begin this ritual of chanting from Torah, I want to recognize your tutor, who's Mitch. Wonderful tutor, Mitch, who has been a Hebrew school teacher. He's a challah baker. He's a person who really kind of puts goodness into the world. And I know he's watching, and with lots of pride. I believe that although Mitch has been a Hebrew school teacher for quite a few years, this is the first time you and he, you are his first B'nai Mitzvah student to work all these months towards Bat Mitzvah. And I know it was a great experience. We call that relationship Chevruta, when there's a teacher and a student study together. And the root of Chevruta is chaver, which means friend. And so in that, yeah, right, you agree? In that process of studying and learning and getting you to this place where you can chant from Torah, this true friendship emerges. And I see everyone shaking their head. So I'm so glad that happened the way it's supposed to. So I'm gonna call your sister, of course, who's hanging out here by you, is the first Aliyah. This is your first time, Sylvia, having an Aliyah since becoming Bat Mitzvah. And one of the privileges, I guess, I'm not sure if that's the right word, one of the parts of becoming Bat Mitzvah is that you can now be called to the Torah. You couldn't before. And now here you are. The first Aliyah for your own sister's Bat Mitzvah, so it's a privilege to call you to the Torah using your sacred name of Simcha Leah. Ta'amod Simcha Leah, Bat David, Mordechai, Vizavida, Miriam, Aliyah L'Torah Rishona, and the blessing is right here.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayasem et masach hapetach lamishkan. Ve'et mizbach ha'olah sam petach mishkano hel moed. Vaya'al alav et ha'olah ve'et hamincha ka'asher tziva Adonai et Moshe. Vayasem et hakior beino halmoed uvein hamizbeach vayitain shama mayim l'rochza.
Beautiful job, and the blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betoheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Oh man, nicely done. There you go. Love that. When Sylvia, when the family came in, we were showing slides that I think everybody was able to see at home. So there's scenes from Liv's story so far. And as the sisters, Sylvia and Liv were walking in, they were in this pose together, and they looked up at the screen and they were in the exact same pose as like 6 and 8 year old or something like that. It was pretty cool. So you can head down, Sylvia, because it's time for the second Aliyah, Liv, which this time is your parents. So it's an honor to call your mom and dad to the Torah, to stand next to you. Ya'amdu David Mordechai v'Zavida Miriam Ali L'Torah Sheni.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. V'rachatzu mimenu Moshe ve'Aharon uvanav et yedehem ve'et raglehem bivawam el ohel moed uvkorvatam el hamizbeach yirchatzu ka'asher tziva Adonai et Moshe. Vayakem et hechatzer, tzaviv lamishkan v'lamizbeach, vayitain et masach sha'ar hechatzer, vayachal Moshe et hamlecha.
Beautiful job, and the blessing after from your parents.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet. V'chayei olam nata betocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. I'm going to have your parents stay here, though, even though their Aliyah is done, because Liv, this is your Aliyah to the Torah. Though you have been chanting beautifully all along, there's something about the Aliyah that is really what the tradition says makes you a bat mitzvah, right? Being called up to the Torah, doing the blessings. Of course, we have the added benefit of you chanting in between. But this is sort of the bat mitzvah moment. And so let it kind of sink in, all these years of religious school and being involved in CRC and studying, and here we are. This bat mitzvah moment, that you become a daughter of this tradition who I know with all my heart will bring into your life as you get into those teenage years and beyond, as you become more independent and more mature, that you will bring what's meaningful with you from the Jewish tradition, because now you know it. You've learned it and you've shown us that. You will bring that into your future, and of course you will add your own stamp. You are part of Torah, and you will add your own unique voice, which we will hear very shortly, to who we are as a people. And we are so blessed to have you with us on this journey. And so I get to, on behalf of all your rabbis, who love you. I don't know if we talked about it, but Rabbi Daniel, Rabbi Karen are in Memphis. Rabbi Karen's grandmother passed away, so blessed memory. So we're thinking about them, but I know they wish they could be here, and they send their love. And Rabbi Susan, who we'll also hear from soon, you know how she feels about you. But I get to be the one to call you to the Torah, so I'm the lucky guy today of all those rabbis. And so using your Hebrew name, which is very fitting, your sister's Hebrew name means joy, and your Hebrew name means goodness. And I think you guys did pretty good on those names. And I know that they also have significance in terms of your family. And so I'm going to, you're Tova Rivka when it comes to these certain moments of your life. And so, Olivia, I'm going to call you to the Torah, and then you're going to finish chanting and finish the book of Exodus. Ta'amod Tova Rivka bat David Mordechai Zavida Miriam Aliyah Torah bat HaMitzvah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. Amen. Vayachas ha'anan et ohel moed, uchvod Adonai malei et hamishkan. V'lo yachol Moshe lavo el ohel moed, ki shachan alav ha'anan, uchvod Adonai malei et hamishkan. Uvhelot ha'anan me'al hamishkan, yisu b'nei Yisrael b'chol masehem. V'im lo yaleh ha'anan v'lo yisu ad yom ha'aloto. Ki anan Adonai al hamishkan yomam ve'esh ti'elayla bo le'nei kol beit Yisrael b'chol masehem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Well, first of all, get some nachas from your folks. Wow. And really quickly, before you guys sit down, there is a ritual in synagogue life when we finish reading a book of Torah. We say really two words, but one of them we repeat. Go ahead. You know it? Chazak.
Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazak.
Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazak, exactly, which means, we were strong when we started these weeks and months of reading from the book of Exodus, both in our own lives and in our kind of communal life, and through these many weeks and months. And, in the book of Exodus, we start in slavery, right? And all kinds of things happen after that, including freedom, most importantly. So we get stronger through this experience. And then at the very end, we say v'nit chazak, which means, of course, the bottom line is we strengthen each other. We must strengthen each other. And we do strengthen each other in our communities, whether they're right here or virtual. We need each other. and we strengthen each other. So we're going to say it in here, and if you're free to say it wherever you are, because we have finished, thanks to Liv in this community, and whoever's chanting Torah all over the world, we have finished the book of Exodus liturgically, and we move on to Vayikra. But before we do, we say, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. Amen. Now you guys can have a seat. And we're going to turn our attention for the moment to healing. Always when we have a Torah reading, which is every Shabbat and holidays as well, we have a healing prayer, a Mishaberach, attached to the Torah service. And this one is no different, so I want to make sure that our attention is kind of turned to the people in our lives and in our communities who could use a healing touch. I want to mention a few names of people who have asked us to pray for them, or people who have asked for us to pray for their loved ones. We are praying for Alan Snyder, who is a relative of Eileen Ehrlich, who's a Saturday morning regular. Angela McCurry, who's doing better. Angela was in the hospital for a few days, and she's just moved with her family to Belleville, and is back on track. But I know that we're keeping Angela in our healing prayers. I'm asked to pray for Hannah Kyla Batsara Leah for healing for her cancer. And Autumn has a friend who has an infant son with a curable, thank God, leukemia diagnosis, and his name is Simon Ramaser Klanuch, I believe. Janet Cunningham, Johanna Sunnenshine's mother, Johanna, was here and helped us with the Torah last Shabbat service. And for Bear, our buddy Bear, who has a surgery coming up. Bear, I don't know if you guys remember at Hebrew school, right? Bear's always over by the church making sure everything is okay. Great guy. Took him to Israel with a great CRC group. So we're keeping Bear in our prayers. Autumn, any names from the stream for healing?
Yes, we have Toby Schreiber.
Oh, for Toby. Oh, we love Toby. So refuah shlema to all the people named and anybody that
Jill
needs.
Hollifield?
And for Jill, thank you,
And
Jill.
for Liza Anzalotti.
Thank you for Liza Anzalotti and Jill Hollifield. We're praying for your continued healing, for those that were named, and for those who, for your mom, Andrew, refuah shlema. For my mom, a refuah shlema. For all moms, but even people we don't know. But if whoever's suffering out there, whoever's ill out there, whoever is vulnerable out there, we send our prayers. And specifically in this moment, the Mishaberach prayer, which is on page 26 of the prayer book.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor Abracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor Abracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Of course, I want to add all the people who who are suffering because of COVID, directly and indirectly. The reason that, we're here in this fashion as opposed to our full community. And so we pray that we're getting to a better place with this pandemic, and really grateful for this family for really kind of being conscious and paying attention to public health and trying to keep each other healthy. And so on page 27 is the Chatimah of this prayer, the part that we hope and pray seals it for the people that we're praying for. We say, Baruch atah Adonai Rofei HaCholim, blessed is the Holy One who helps us find ways to be healing agents or angels to those who are sick. And we say, Amen. All right, Liv. So now, step 2 and step 3 of becoming bat mitzvah. After you chant Torah, you're going to now chant from your Haftorah, the part of the books of prophets that was selected to match this your Torah portion. In this case, it's from the historical book of prophets, from the first book of Kings. So that you can follow along with Liv on page 27. And after the Haftorah and the blessings that surround it, then everyone kind of sit back and pay attention, and you're going to hear Liv's amazing Devar Torah, Liv's commentary on all of this, everything that she's learned and experienced and feels and believes, that's her teaching. And so you are the teacher in this moment. We are your students, and we are really looking forward to what comes next. And so page 27.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai Habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'Nviei ha'emet v'tzedek. Ein ba'aron rak shnei luchot ha'avanim asher hiniach sham Moshe Bechorev asher karat Adonai im bnei Yisrael b'tzeitam me'eretz Mitzrayim vayehi b'tzeit hakohanim min hakodesh v'ha'anan malei et beit Adonai V'lo yachlu hakohanim la'amod l'sharet mipnei ha'anan ki malei chavod Adonai et beit Adonai. Az amar Shlomo Adonai amar lishkon ba'arafel bano vaniti beit zevul Lach machon lashivtecha olamim vayasev hamelech et panav vayavarech et kol kahal Yisrael v'chol kahal Yisrael omed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol haolamim tzadik bechol hadarot ha'el hane'eman ha'omer v'oseh hamdaber umkayem shechol devarav emet v'tzedek al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al haneveim va'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod ultifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umavarchim ota, yitbarach shemcha befi kol hai, tamid leolam va'ed, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-shabbat.
Amen.
Thank you.
Deep breath.
Okay. In this portion, the main theme is accountability and keeping accurate records. These go together because the builders kept strict and accurate records of the building of the tabernacle and detailed accounts of the leaders' actions so that the leaders were held accountable. I think this has to do with why they were so detailed about the garments that the priests wore. I believe they were detailed because they wanted to paint a metaphorical picture of how the outsides, meaning the garments, matched the insides, meaning the responsibilities, beliefs, etc. of the priests. If the priests had worn torn and tattered shirts and pants, they would not have been thought of as holy. All of this is important because the tabernacle is expected to be a holy place that gives a model for all of our dwelling places. The tent of meeting was kept open so that all were welcome to see and join the services that were held there. The leaders wanted it to be pure and holy and wanted no secrets or scandals to take place. This relates back to accountability because they wanted to be able to be held accountable for what took place inside. To do that, there were no doors or barriers that would cast doubt upon the holiness of everything that was held in the tent of meeting. It was open for everyone, no special membership required. I think that the accountability they held their leaders to is so important in modern-day leadership. I don't think there should ever be a what-if about a leader's past. They should be completely transparent about their life. Again, outsides matching the insides. With all of this in mind, I've created a 7-step formula for holding leaders accountable. 1. Leaders should be totally transparent and not keep secrets. As I explained earlier, it's very important to know about a leader's past and not to wonder any what-ifs. We must also be able to trust leaders to tell the truth. They should wear special garments and garments that make them recognizable. For example, a president should wear something professional, and the manager of a McDonald's should wear a McDonald's uniform. So different leaders should wear something that works for them and who they are leading, and that identifies them in their work. 3. Regular communication with the community that explains decisions that are being made. Leaders should never try to keep laws being made a secret or delay telling community members about them. 4. Anybody should be able to be a leader, and there should be no barriers to stop them from being a leader. For example, skin color, gender, nationality, etc. Everyone and anyone can be a leader. 5. Leaders should keep an open tent. Anyone can come in and see your leadership, and there is no special access, as well as no entrance can be denied. Everyone is treated with equal respect. 6. Leaders should be willing to learn from their mistakes and be humble. They need to keep their egos clean and take the natural consequences, such as not being trusted by people or even losing your job if you fail to tell the truth about your mistakes. 7. Treat everyone equally, the half shekel. The half shekel is a concept that they used in my portion. It's a concept that everyone pays the same amount for taxes. Whether you're rich or poor, everyone pays the half shekel. This is important because it evens the playing field, because everyone could afford to pay the half shekel, and this gives everyone an opportunity to be part of the process. All 7 steps in my formula for holding leaders accountable can be applied to all levels of our lives. The glue that holds them all together is understanding that good leaders are servants to the people that they're leading. In my life, one of the biggest opportunities to be a servant and leader is in school, in group projects, in being helpful, in participating, and in being a good friend. All of these work better when you follow my formula. In group projects, the half shekel concept is one of the most important because everyone should work the same fair amount. Teachers lead by example, and they follow the formula as well. However, as I was growing up the past few years, I did not have a leader who was held accountable or followed the formula for holding leaders accountable. Donald Trump was a leader who did quite the opposite of what the U.S. needed. He went strictly against the formula for holding leaders accountable. Trump broke all of the rules in my formula. He especially broke rule number 1, no secrets and the need for transparency. He threw the whole concept of truth out the window. In this portion, at the end of Exodus, we finish building the sanctuary, and a strict accounting is done of all the materials that are used, including the garments of the priests. You might be thinking, why did they record what the priests wore? Well, it's for the reason I said at the beginning. The outsides need to reflect the truth on the insides. This portion has helped me see how important it is for leaders and really everyone to have an outside matching their insides, including the priests. They wore robes which did not have pockets, so everyone knew they were being truthful about the money they were collecting and could be trusted with it. In spite of the huge impact Trump as a leader had on my generation, we still know right from wrong, especially in leadership. We won't use that as an excuse not to do better. Our generation is going to be facing some extremely difficult issues like social justice and climate change. If we demand the kind of leadership that we know we need and deserve, then there is hope for our generations. If we insist on transparency and truth, then this will help us all become the kind of accountable and trusted leaders we will all need for future generations.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Olivia. So first of all, beautiful job. Really, really stirring and important and powerful. I don't know, Autumn, if that stirred up any chatter on the chat room, but you spoke truth to power. But I know that Rabbi Susan wants to make sure her blessings and her words are part of this service. She's known you as long as I've known you, and I know you had some great, wonderful sessions and conversations with Rabbi Susan, and even though she couldn't be here, she also wanted to be here. And so we have Rabbi Susan via video, a blessing for our newest bat mitzvah, Liv.
Dearest Liv, you know I have a special place in my heart for you and your sister. You bring me back to those days when we would gather for family services and sing the Shema and gather in the sparks of holiness and hope and believe together that the good in us will win. It feels more and more difficult to gather those sparks of love and kindness and compassion and justice as we open our eyes and see a world so broken by sickness and war and suffering. Knowing that we have the tools to heal so much, but we are lacking the will to do it. Meeting with you over these many months to prepare for this day of your bat mitzvah, you're claiming your place in this chain of tradition of learning and living and loving has been a real privilege for me. Our conversations began with your fierce commitment to honesty and equity. You said our outsides have to match the truth of our insides. You said that the purpose of our garments is to bring out our true colors and never limit us or allow others to judge or profile us. We also spoke about accountability and responsibility, especially for our leaders. The portion tells us that every shekel should be accounted for, that leaders must be holy, but they are not above the law and must be held accountable. We had discussions as we studied together through a time of our nation's story where that just didn't seem to be the case. But instead of despairing, you came up with Livy's 7-step formula for holding leaders accountable. Instead of giving up, you grew into the challenge. Instead of saying, this is someone else's problem, you took on these principles in your own life and challenged each of us to do the same. You taught us that the Torah is trying to draw each of us into this story. By requiring just a half shekel, the Torah is teaching us that every one of us is required to participate in the repair of our broken world. No one is left out, and no one gets to say that they do not matter, that they do not count, that they can't make a difference. Each one of us must do the work to know our insides, to know what gifts we have, so that we can wear the garments that reflect our true selves and add to the truth and tikkun, repair of the world. I know that you care deeply about the climate crisis facing our planet, about challenges to justice and equity that we face daily. I wish I could be there with you on this holy Shabbat of your bat mitzvah, to look into your beautiful eyes and thank you for this time of learning with you. You and Sylvie and your wonderful parents who so generously shared you with me when you were little, help me to remember that we can still gather in those sparks of kindness and compassion and justice and equity and healing and holiness, to look deep inside and still believe that the good in us can win. I love you, and I am so proud of you, and look forward to the many, many chapters of your life as you grow your holy garments to match your most spectacular insides and continue becoming the leader we all see before us today. Mazal Tov, and thank you for leading us in prayer and teaching us your Torah today.
Amen. So all I can add to that is Shehechianu, right? The blessing for these moments, these really important, beautiful, holy moments that because of you and your family, we've all, far and near, have been able to share, but especially this moment, what it means to you, who've become bat mitzvah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, shehechianu v'kimanu, v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. Which means blessed is the Holy One whose presence fills creation. We give thanks for our lives and for being kept alive and for, as the prayer says, lazman hazeh, for this moment, this Shabbat moment, this Rosh Chodesh moment, this ending the Exodus moment, and this bat mitzvah for live moment. And we say, Amen. And Liv, on behalf of the whole CRC, the board of directors and the membership and everybody, that makes this place a sacred place. It is an honor to present you with a certificate. Actually, we have two in here. Tristan, who created the certificate, said, maybe we should give one for the student and one for the family. They're both the same, but kind of a new certificate, actually. You're the second person to receive this one, which has sort of a replication of the mosaic floor. And it says that 2 trees have been planted in your honor for becoming bat mitzvah at CRC. 1 tree is in a Palestinian community on the West Bank, and the other one is in a Jewish community in Jerusalem. So again, trying to match our insides with our outsides. We want to make sure that we care about justice for the Palestinians and peace for Israel. And so those trees, one in an Arab community, one in a Jewish community in the same land, we hope will grow together and flourish and help bring more peace to that place, which is so important to us. So that's for you. And furthermore, but wait, there's more, right? This is also a gift for you from CRC. It's a tzedakah jar. And it's like a tzedakah box, but it's a jar. And it says tzedakah in Hebrew letters, and of course you know what to do with tzedakah. You collect your money, always a portion of what you have goes in the tzedakah jar, and then when it's all filled up, pick a cause or an organization or a person in need and share what you have with them. So these are for you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. We're so proud of you. We are at the part of the service now where we're going to put the Torah away. And we're going to go to page 29 with words from one of the Proverbs in the Bible that says that Torah is a tree of life. And Liv, you showed that to us, right? What you talked about came from your Torah portion, but could not have been written by anyone but you, and it couldn't have been written in any other time but the 21st century, right? But it came from this ancient Torah. So the idea that Torah is a tree of life it really rings true. So I'm gonna ask you guys, your family, to stand up while we put the Torah away. I'm gonna ask Sylvia to come up to help return the Torah to the ark, and I'm gonna ask Andrew and Leslie to sing Eitz Chayim.
יצחיימי למחזיקים בה בתומכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו
So remain standing. If you're standing at home, you can remain standing too, though we can't see you, but whatever works for you. We're on page, now we're on page 30 and 31, the Aleinu prayer, one of the concluding prayers. And so Liv and I are going to face the ark and sing the words of Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu L'Shabeach Ladon HaKol, Latekedo Laliotzer Breshit, Shelo Asanu Kegoye Haratzot, Velo Samanu Kemishpachot Adama, Shelo Sam Chelkenu Kahem, Vigora Aleinu Kecho Hamonam, Vanachnu Korim, Mishtachavim umodim, Lifnei Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Notei Shamayim v'Yosed Aretz, Umoshav Yikaro Bashamayim Mima'al, Ushchinat Uzo, Begad He Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Ein Od, Emet Malkeinu Efezulato, Kakatuv Bitorato, Viadata Hayom Bahashevota. Vecha ki Adonai hu ha-Elohim, v'ashamayim mima'al, ve'al ha'aretz, mitachat ein od, v'ne'emar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol ha'aretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad. Beautiful. Please be seated. I know that Autumn will put up some of our announcements onto the chat for everyone who's streaming. And so I'll let the announcements sort of speak for themselves, all of the adult education opportunities and the opportunities for Tikkun Olam and social justice programs. Just want to mention two quick things. We got a lot of stuff going on for Purim, which is the next holiday coming up. Already a week from Wednesday evening starts Purim. But two things, and the rest I think Autumn will put on the chat, but we start Purim a little early with the Purim Carnival, which is a week from tomorrow, a week from Sunday at 1 o'clock. If you know any little kids, or if you are kind of a little kid at heart, come to our Purim Carnival. Liv's classmates, the 7th graders and 8th graders this year, because we didn't have an in-person Purim Carnival last year. But we are this year, are going to put on the carnival and help tell the story of Purim to the littlest CRC kids. Lots of fun and games and a photo booth and a bouncy kind of thing. It's 1 o'clock a week from Sunday. So spread the word. We're back in person for Purim. And then Wednesday night, a week from Wednesday, which is actually Erev Purim, is our regular kind of zany, crazy, over-the-top, topsy-turvy Purim spiel, which this year is Back to the Future. What CRC will be like in 5800, Autumn?
Yes.
5800, yeah. 5800, so you do the math. A bunch of decades from now. We're going to tell it by video, but also you can come in person. We're going to have some pre-recorded videos. So 7 o'clock for Purim, a week from Wednesday.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. That's a good way to put it, Liv. Interesting and fun. We are easing towards allowing food and drink back in the synagogue. We're not there yet, but for Purim, you can bring your own drinks if you want. You can put your straw through your mask, and we'll figure that out. But drinking and Purim kind of go hand in hand if that's something that you're okay about. So anyway, obviously, like everything else at CRC, if you can't come here or you're not comfortable yet coming back, you can watch it on the stream. So those are my Purim announcements, and we transition and always make sure before any service is through that we leave time for remembrance, for remembering those people whose shoulders we stand upon, who've passed away during this past year or in years past. And I know, Liv, you're going to start out the remembrances with two really special people.
Today, I want to remember my maternal grandfather, Mike Moran, and my paternal grandfather, Bernie Haynes.
We remember them with you. Your grandfather's really important. And so I'm going to add some names to what Liv said. We are saying Kaddish for a number of people in the community. I know some of the people who, have put these names on the list are watching the service. This weekend is the yahrzeit of Milton Epstein, of Marcel Newman, of Doris Padauer, of Bernard Podolsky, of Hillel Rosenthal, of Louis Auerbach and Blanche Auerbach, of Anne Morgenstern and James Morgenstern, the mother and father of Bernie Morgenstern. Bernie and Gloria were here last night for services to say Kaddish for Bernie's mom and dad. For Larry Raskin, Miriam's husband, and Susan Spiegel's brother-in-law, Lori Morgan's father, one of the really good guys in life. Esther Rosenthal, and then also Sammy Goldman and Ida Tucson and Gertrude Weiner. It's also the yahrzeit of Steve Miller, who was the husband of Lisa Huxley, and Lisa was here last night to say Kaddish for Steve. He was one of our Torah study teachers. For Betty Rose Levy, who is the mother of Jeff and Janet Hockman, grandmother of Benjamin, Angela, Olson, and Emily Hockman. And that family is always part of CRC, and actually they were at family services just this morning. In addition to the yahrzeits, we are also remembering our most recent deaths and people from our congregation who have passed away in the past year, including, as I mentioned earlier, Rabbi Karen's Mimi. Rabbi Karen's grandmother and the great-grandmother of Rabbi Daniel, Rabbi Karen's kids, Gavi, Ezra, and Noah, Mimi. They are in Memphis now. The service was yesterday, so we're thinking about the family. Also, Phyllis Leventhal and Aubrey Yowitz, Eileen Siegel and Shirley Patisha, and Richard Bushman and Dorothy Silverberg, Babette Young and Art Lash, Selena Green and Dr. Paige Powers, Mert Arnowitz-Woolman and Susan Carlson, and Dr. Stan Frager and Michael Huxley, and Ruth Gustorf and Nina Levine and Pat Denlow, and Kyle Currier and Sam Nussbaum, Judy Hunter and Linda Holtzman. For Karen Margot and Janice Marks. For Judge Roberta Hitt and Andy Neiman. For Ed Lander and Marie Nicholson, Raphael Berger. For Alex Hochberg and Gail Hollifield, Jill's mother. For Dan Sokol and Orietta Cohn and Michael Kiernan. For Marcel Pollock, whose yahrzeit is coming up in just next week. That's Sharon's wonderful mother. And it will add to that the names that have been put into the chat.
We are remembering Jack Rowan, who is Marion Rosen's brother. We're also remembering Dale Eason, Lorraine Eason's father, and her mother, Shirley Patisha.
So each of those names, including your grandpas, a world into themselves, a whole world, a whole journey. So all of those names are kind of in our hearts, and now they are a blessing to all of us that heard their names. We add to that the names of people who have died in wars, like the war that's unfortunately happening right now in Ukraine, and people who've died from diseases like AIDS and COVID, and people who've died senselessly because of acts of violence. We think of all of them as we say this prayer on page 32. I'll ask Liv's family to stand in honor of all our loved ones and all the people we've named and all the people we're thinking of on this Shabbat as we say together, Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chaye echon uv'yom echon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Bagala uv'izman kari ve'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei almaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitchomam ve'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudesha v'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alama ve'emru amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ve'imru amen. Ve'imru amen.
Zikronam levracha, may all of their memories be a blessing. All right, so now let's see, half of you guys sit down. Dan and Kate, you come up, and now is the time for you guys to bring your blessings to your wonderful daughter who just became bat mitzvah.
Liv, we are so proud of you and so delighted to have reached this moment with you. You've had an incredible journey through your Jewish education thus far and have worked very hard to prepare for this day. We are so excited to share in your celebration of this important milestone. You are kind and generous. You love your friends and will do anything to make them smile. The fact that you're a phenomenal listener and an excellent baker helps a lot. I know how hard COVID has been for you in limiting the time you can spend with friends and what you're able to do together. But you've done such a wonderful job thinking outside the box. Bike rides, playgrounds, FaceTime, and outdoor pools have all been ways you've carved out time together. You are thoughtful. Your incredible sense of empathy and your ability to connect with others help you understand people and make friends with them, as well as advocate for them when necessary. Your current goal is to become an SSD teacher, possibly in Alaska, working with kids to help them fulfill their potential and achieve everything they can. You are observant. You notice and hear everything down to the smallest detail. A trait which comes in handy when someone in your family misplaces something and you help us find it. But a trait which can be challenging when Dad and I are trying to discuss something out of your earshot. You are bright and insightful. You have a wonderful sense of style and love to create just the right look for your paintings, your baked goods, your room, your nails, and your outfits. I love how you know exactly what you like and what is right for the moment. You aren't satisfied until you've created exactly the thing you intended to. You are hilarious and creative. You are unbelievably funny and have a knack for lightening tense situations with a bit of humor, and often a spot-on accent. Whether you're doing British, Australian, Indian, or a brand new accent you've just dreamed up, you make anything you say sound that much better. I love making you cringe when I try out the accents myself. You are determined and focused. Your swim coaches will agree that you are an incredibly hard worker. Whether you're completing a mile of butterfly or doing animal sprints until your arms feel like they're going to fall off, you have a work ethic that just won't quit. You show up every day excited to get in the pool, No matter how tired you are, you encourage everyone around you to give their very best. You lead cheers, you anchor relays, you love being part of a team. And I was thinking earlier when Rabbi Randy was talking about what we say when we finish a book of the Torah, you make everyone strong.
Don't cry, it's okay.
Your determination and consistent effort have led to big improvements so far, and we can't wait to see where they take you next. You are courageous and conscientious. It's important to you that things are fair. You try your best to treat others justly and try to create correct situations in which you see injustice occurring. Your desire for justice and accountability, as well as your talent for leadership, ties in very well to your Devar Torah today, in which you explained so articulately why it's important for our leaders to be held responsible to their communities for their actions. We love you, Liv, and are honored to be able to witness your growth into a young woman who is compassionate, sincere, and principled. We are so glad you're our daughter and will always be here to support you.
Liv, in your Jewish education, you learn the concept that this world is broken and that it is our obligation to try to repair it. For most of your childhood, you've been aware and sensitive to the pain and suffering in the world, even though most of it was from a distance. But over the past couple of years, some of the world's brokenness directly impacted our lives. You responded using some of your basic character traits that your mom just spoke about so beautifully. You brought your hard traits like courage and resilience, and you brought your soft traits like empathy, compassion, and kindness. You helped repair the brokenness for us and for others around you. As a parent, I'm extremely proud of you. And as a person living beside you, I'm filled with respect and admiration. I'd like to conclude with some song lyrics of Emmylou Harris that express my sentiments. Don't worry, Liv, I'm not going to sing.
Thank you.
Liv, you will always have a lucky star that shines because of what you are, even in the deepest dark, because your aim is true. And if I could only have one wish, darling, then it would be this: love and happiness for you.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you too.
So stay up here, but let's have Sylvia and Dasi come on. Let's all gather around each other here. This congregation who congregated so beautifully. I do want to point out, we haven't talked much about Liv, about your Mitzvah project, so I'll just read from your Siddur. Liv painted 10 paintings, and Liv is going to give them to assisted living facilities to help the residents decorate their rooms. Oh, it's lovely. This was something I wanted to do, Liv says, because I really enjoy art, and I also really enjoy making people smile. I know COVID has been a very isolating experience for many people, and I wanted to reach out and let some elderly members of my community know someone is thinking about them. So it looks beautiful. I'd love to see them in someone's room. That's really just awesome. So let's put our arms around each other, also your arms around Liv, our newest bat mitzvah. There you go, that's perfect. Perfect. You can make it like a screen grab from that. That'd be a great picture. So we want to bless you. We want to bless each other. Folks that are watching, we're putting our arms around you too, putting our arms around the whole world here. So this is our blessing from the same Torah that you read from and interpreted so beautifully. Gave us these special words of peace and love. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you always. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine down upon you and always be kind and loving and warm and gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And may you have shalom. May we all have shalom. May we have leaders who we hold accountable. That will help with shalom, right? So the the inside matches the outside. That's part of peace as well. And we want both. We want peace within, and we want peace all around. We want peace, shalom, throughout all creation. And I believe we made a step towards that this morning because of you and your bat mitzvah and the way you led us and taught us. And so let us say amen, and Shabbat Shalom, and Mazel Tov to live. Mazel Tov.
Simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, mazel